This video covers part 2 of the district test that we'll be taking on Thursday, which covers everything that we learned in topic 3. So all of these questions are very similar to the questions that you're going to see on the test on Thursday, and they're all going to be things that we learned for topic 3. So the first question on the second part of the test will be something similar to this. So it's going to give you a few expressions, and you have to figure out which one has the greatest value when x is 7. So when x is 7, which expression has the greatest value? So really the only way to solve this problem is to evaluate all the expressions. So remember, when you evaluate, you substitute first. Step 1 is to substitute. So you substitute the variable. You're going to put 7 anywhere you see x. And then you're going to use the order of operations to solve it or to evaluate it. So the first one is 3x minus 6. So I'm going to substitute 7 for x. I'm going to do 3 times 7 minus 6. And 3 times 7 is 21. So 21 minus 6, and that's 15. So the first one is 15. Okay, the second one, I've got 4 times 7 plus 2, because it was 4x plus 2. So I'm going to put 7 instead of x. So I have 4 times 7 plus 2. 4 times 7 is 28 plus 2. So that's 30. Okay, so that one's definitely bigger. Okay, the next one is 5x minus 10. So I'm going to do 5 times 7 minus 10, because I'm substituting 7 in for the x. So 5 times 7 minus 10. 5 times 7 is 35. 35 minus 10 is 25. So this one is 25. Then I've got 6x minus 14. So I'm going to do 6 times 7 minus 14. 6 times 7 is 42. 42 minus 14 is 28. All right, so this one is the one that is the greatest value. So, because I've got 28, 25, 30, and 15. So 30 is the greatest value. So 4x plus 2 has the greatest value when x equals 7. All right. So again, for question number 1, it's going to look very similar to this. You're just going to have to evaluate each expression for the number they give you, and then just figure out which one has the greatest value. So you're going to have to evaluate all of the expressions. Question 2, if n equals 36, what is the value of 3 times n minus 8? So this one is actually multiple choice. They're going to give you several possibilities, but we're just going to evaluate it because that's how you'll need to solve it. You're going to have to put 36 and substitute it in for n. So I'm going to have 3 times, instead of n, it'll be 36. So 3 times 36 minus 8. Okay, 36 minus 8, that is 28. So now I have 3 times 28, because I have to do the parentheses first. I have to do what's in the parentheses first. 3 times 28, so I'm just going to do that over here real quick. 8 times 3 is 24. 2 times 3 is 6, 7, 8. So 84. So, like I said, number 2 is actually multiple choice. So whatever one matches what I got, that's the one I'll choose. So for number 2, make sure you substitute the value in first, and then you can use the order of operations to evaluate. Number 3, they're going to give you a verbal expression, which means they're going to give you like a mathematical sentence in words. And there's 2 parts to this problem. So number 3 has 2 parts. Make sure you do both parts. So the first part is we have to write the expression using mathematical symbols. So we have 15 more than the product of 3 and some number n. So product means I'm multiplying. So if it's the product of 3 and n, then it means I'm going to do 3 times n. So the product of 3 and n is multiplying 3 and n. So it's 3 times n. So 3 times n. And 15 more means I'm going to add. So 3 times n plus 15, or could be 15 plus 3n, either one. So I just know product means that I'm multiplying the two numbers, and more means I'm adding this number to it. Okay, so that was the first part. Remember, this one has two parts. The second part is I have to evaluate the expression for n equals 12. So they're going to give you a value for the variable, and you need to substitute. So instead of 3 times n, I'm going to do 3 times 12 plus 15. So 3 times 12 is 36. 36 plus 15. 36 plus 15. 6 plus 5 is 11. Carry the 1. 3 plus 1 is 4. 5. So 51. So I have two parts. The first part was that I had to write the expression. The second part was I had to substitute for the variable and evaluate. So make sure for question number 3, you do both parts. Question number 4 says, use this expression. So here's the expression, and they want you to evaluate the expression. And there's 3 variables. I have X, A, and B. So they gave me a value for X, a value for A, and a value for B. So I have to substitute all 3 of those and then evaluate. So I'm going to have, instead of 2x to the third power, I'm going to have 2 times x is 2, so 2 times 2 to the third power. Plus, instead of 6a, I'm going to have 6 times 1, because a is 1. Plus, instead of 4b, b is 3, so it's going to be plus 4 times 3. And then last, plus 3. Now I have to remember to do this with the order of operations. I need to do parentheses first, then exponents, then multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. So I'm going to look, I have parentheses, but there's just a number inside. So there's nothing to do inside of the parentheses. So I've done the parentheses. Exponents, I do have an exponent. So I need to do 2 to the third power. So 2 to the third power means 2 times 2 times 2. So 2 times 2 is 4, and 4 times 2 is 8. So now I have 2 times 8 plus 6 times 1 plus 4 times 3 plus 3. Okay. So I did the exponent. So now I have to do multiplication and division. So I don't have any division, but I have lots of multiplication. So I'm going to do those first. So 2 times 8 is 16. 6 times 1 is 6. 4 times 3 is 12. And then I just have 3 at the end. So now I'm going to do 16 plus 6. 16 plus 6 is 22. Plus 12, that's 34. Plus 3, so 37. So for number 4, or the fourth question on the second part of the test, they're going to give you an expression that looks a lot like this, and they're going to give you values for all 3 variables. And those variables all have different values that you need to substitute in for this expression. All right, the fifth one for the second half is they're going to give you an expression, and you have to decide which situations match the expression. And I mean situations with an S at the end, because you might find that there's more than one. There might be 2, there might be 3, that all of them might. You have to decide which ones do and which ones do not. And you're going to put yes next to the ones that do and no to the ones that do not. So I have 7x plus 4. So let's look at this first one. I have Joe spent $7 per gallon on gas. Well, per gallon means I'm multiplying. So 7 times the number of gallons on gas, and then $4 on candy. So it just looks like $4 on candy no matter how much he spends on gas. So how much did he spend in all? So that would be 7 times the number of gallons plus the $4 on candy. So that first one, yes, that one works. All right, the second one says Maria buys 7 balloons for each guest. So, for each means I'm multiplying, so it's going to be 7 times the number of guests. She also buys 4 balloons for each guest again. Oh, no, for each of her brothers, but still, each means I'm multiplying again. So now it would be like 4 times a different value. So this would be like 7x plus 4y. That's not this, so this would not match. Okay, this last one, Mark puts $4 in his account. Okay, so that's just $4. That's just in his account. And he adds $7 every week. Every week, again, that's multiplying. So that would be $4 that he started with plus 7 times however many weeks. So it'd be 4 plus 7x. Now, it looks like it's different, but remember, we can switch things around. That's our commutative property. So I have 7x plus 4 again. So these two match. So yep, this one does. So the first and last do, the second one doesn't. So you have to decide which ones match and which ones do not. Number 6, Gina started the month with $50 in his account. He spent $D to buy a video game. Which expression can be used to find out how much money he has left? Okay, so I have to figure out which one of these would help me figure this out. So if he starts with $50 and he spends $D to buy a video game. So he started with 50 and he spent D. So he's just taking D out. So that would just be subtraction. So if he started with 50 and he's taking out D, it's definitely not this one, because that would be 50 divided by D. That would mean like he took out D a bunch of times or something. D minus 50 would mean that he started with some dollars and he took out 50. But this says he started with 50 and he took out D. So it's not this one. So this one, 50, starts with 50 and he takes D out. That one makes sense. I'm just going to double check this last one though and see. So this says 50 plus D. Well, that would mean he started with 50 and then he added D dollars. So it's not that one. So that would be this one. So for the 6th question in the second part of the test, you're looking to see which one of the expressions they give you matches the situation. So you have to think about what operation makes sense and how the situation makes sense. And the last problem is the same thing. You're going to look at the situation and figure out which expression makes sense. So this one says Erica spent $250 on bracelets. Let B represent the number of bracelets she bought. Okay, so she bought B's bracelets. So I don't know how many she bought. If each bracelet costs the same amount, which expression would be used to find the price of each bracelet? Okay, so each could mean multiplication or it could mean division. So if I want to find out, she spent a total of $250 and I'm trying to find the price of each bracelet. That's different than if I know the price of each bracelet and she spends that on each bracelet and I'm trying to find the total. So since I'm starting with the total, I'm breaking it apart into however many bracelets. So that would be division. So it's not going to be this one, because that would be if she spent $250 and then also bracelets, which doesn't make any sense. This would mean that she spent $250 on each bracelet and got B bracelets, and that's not what makes sense. This would mean like she started with 250 and then she took away a bracelet. That doesn't make sense. But this one, she started with $250, or she spent $250 and she's trying to figure out the cost of each bracelet. So it'd be like she has a bracelet here, 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 here. Here's $250. She's trying to figure out how much each bracelet cost. That's division. So that one makes sense. So take your time, go over these questions. They're not exactly the same questions as the test, but they're very similar. So make sure that you understand these, because this is what the test will look like on Thursday.